Mario Draghi, as head of the European Central Bank, has the not-so-easy task to steer the economy out of storm and into calmer waters.
So Fabio, we are currently experiencing a lot of negativity in the markets. Why do you think this is happening?
Well, Jessica, this is a good question because it's a long time that markets do try to find their way. We all know that markets love to have a trend, a definite trend, be it a bullish or bearish trend, doesn't really matter. What they want to focus on is a trend where they can build up on strategies. And instead, we are experiencing extreme volatilities and dramatic moves. Now, there are several factors behind this. We may talk about the Chinese slowdown and its effect that it has on the global economy, on the commodities in particular, or even in emerging markets. Or we may talk about the technology revolution, or even talk about this uncertainty surrounding a possible Brexit, and even the US cycle election. All these factors are bonding for uncertainty, but I wouldn't feel like analyzing the current macroeconomic trend without touching base with oil. Oil has lost approximately 72% of its value since its peak, and this has had an incredible effect on oil exporters countries who previously had massive budget advances and now they have to cope with the budget deficits. Suffice it to say that Saudi, in order for having a balanced budget, needs the price of oil to over around $110 a barrel. Therefore, sovereign wealth funds are now used to make the budget instead of being an important source of investment diversification. And if we consider that sovereign wealth funds do tend to front-load their selling policies, we may guess that since the beginning of the years there have been approximately $190 billion of assets sold throughout the market in order to compensate for a price of the oil hovering around $30 per barrel. Now, with a split of 35% equities and 65% bonds, this has had an incredible effect and a downward spiraling effect on the price of securities and the widening of credit spreads. Now, I'm not saying that sovereign wealth funds are the only culprits on this market slump. CTA's managers have also been rebalancing aggressively their portfolio, and the rest is made by market sentiment.
And Mario Draghi has hinted at further monetary easing in March. Do you believe this is sustainable?
That's a good question. In fact, Mario Draghi, as head of the European Central Bank, has the not-so-easy task to steer the economy out of storm and into calmer waters. Now, every central bank around the planet has used all the conventional measures that were in their weaponry, but they've been insufficient. This is why they've been deploying unconventional measures, which has had the secondary effect of steering the boat into uncharted waters. Now, if we consider the most controversial of these measures, is certainly the instauration of negative interest rates. With the benefit of hindsight, which is always easier, of course, we may say that slightly negative interest rates are beneficial to the economy because they provide credit stimulus, which is much needed by companies and by individuals. On the other hand, the experience we may draw out of Switzerland and Denmark is that when interest rates get to a very negative level, and by very negative I may say between minus 0.5% and below, then there is a perverse and unwished for effect that comes into. In fact, financial institutions and banks do try to protect their balance sheets, and therefore the spread between lending and borrowing interest rates, instead of remaining constant, widens, which provides credit restrictions to the whole flow. And this is why more interest rates, more negative interest rate in Europe may be unwanted and unwished for, and in the same time this erosion in bank profits has a negative effect on the bank's balance sheets and may explain why we've seen a dramatic slump in European banks' valuation. Also, another negative effect of negative yields is that real money does not want to invest into something that yields negatively, and therefore liquidity for the whole bond market dries up. This is why I believe that the European Central Bank, and Mario Draghi in particular, will seek for a different solution than negative interest rates by diversifying its interventions not only to government bonds but also to corporate bonds and equities as a preferable way.
Great. Well, Fabio, thank you so much for coming in today once again and sharing your insights with us.
Jessica, thank you very much for having me in the studios again today.
Thank you. Well, that's all from myself and Fabio, but to keep updated with all the latest market moves, do keep clicking back to Dukascopy TV. Goodbye for now.